Suppose nature gave a war, and everybody came. The snakes, the birds, the lizards and frogs. And suppose that the polluters, the species on Earth called man, were the enemy in that war. And then, suppose that the human race lost.
Tennessee Williams meets the EPA in this nature revenge exploitation film starring a baby-faced Sam Elliott. Literally, he doesn't have his mustache. It's disturbing. In his first leading theatrical role, the setup is actually pretty interesting. Elliott is a nature photographer who, while documenting pollution, comes across an aristocratic Southern family living in a plantation household. He discovers that the patriarch is responsible for trashing a nearby lake, and that its reptilian and amphibian inhabitants have begun to revolt against the polluters. Jason Crockett is a fascinating cross-section of the decaying landed gentry of the Old South in the post-60s civil rights era. He's wheelchair-bound, and his wealth is hemorrhaging. One of his sons is a philanderer who's stuck in a loveless marriage, and the other is a metropolitan ponce dating a model, played by the stunningly beautiful Judy Pace. It's such a compelling family dynamic, and the racial divide is played very smartly and subtly. One of my favorite scenes is when Pace shares a drink with Crockett's black servant, who is initially resistant to taking some of her employer's liquor. But she relents and has communion with the model. It's a small but meaningful moment that leads to the servants gaining agency towards the end. And the film makes no bones about it. The old values Crockett clings to are rotten, wasteful, and destructive. And the tide of both social change and the environment itself will wash over it eventually, whether he likes it or not. Elliott is playing as out of type as he ever would in his career. Clearly, they were trying to sell him as a Burt Reynolds-esque Southern stud, and physically he fits the part. They find several excuses for him to take his shirt off. If you think his mustache is impressive, get a load of his chest. And you bet your ass he's wearing some tight, junk-hugging jeans that show he's a gifted actor in more ways than one. But his easygoing, no-bullshit cowboy persona makes a weird translation to bleeding heart eco-warrior. He carries this weird, sarcastic smirk that undercuts a lot of his dialogue. I now know why he grew out his facial hair in the first place. And try as they might, and they really do make an admirable attempt, the live, slow-moving frogs and lizards don't strike a lot of fear, so the pacing in the back half drags to a crawl. Still, the film leaves one hell of a sequencer last, as Crockett, abandoned by both his family and servants, becomes besieged on all sides by a wall of droning, rhythmic croaks. The last suffocated death throes of the antebellum South.